Extensive interviews in Haiti by a team of researchers have revealed that UN peacekeepers fathered hundreds of babies in the country before abandoning their young mothers to lives of poverty. The report describes instances of girls as young as 11 being forced to trade sex for food or for a few coins. Sabina Lee of the University of Birmingham, who led the research, explains how the situation arises.
The UN policy, by and large, is that when they know that relationships between soldiers of troop contributing countries and local women happen, they repatriate. In particular, if there are instances of exploitation and abuse, they repatriate the soldiers. And that, in a way, removes them from the jurisdiction of where they could be held to account for their actions. The local women then have no recourse to support and justice.
A spokeswoman for UN peacekeeping has condemned what she called the egregious behaviour of some peacekeepers in Haiti. India's Supreme Court has refused to suspend a citizenship law that's provoked protests across the country. The law enables faster access to citizenship for non-Muslim refugees from 3 neighbouring countries, which critics say amounts to religious discrimination. The judges are considering a number of petitions against the law. As unrest continues, police in Delhi have imposed an emergency order banning large gatherings in some predominantly Muslim parts of the city. Australia is sweltering under record temperatures, with preliminary data showing it endured its hottest average daily high of 40.9 degrees Celsius on Tuesday. The country's battling severe drought and a huge bushfire crisis that scientists are linking to global warming. Jamie Hansen, who works for Greenpeace Australia Pacific, told the BBC that government intransigence was partly to blame.
The levels of anxiety around climate change are rising. The environment's now the number 1 issue for Australians in public opinion polling. And the Prime Minister's tin ear in his response to the bushfires has really been noticed. We need to phase out coal mining in Australia. We need to phase out coal-fired power stations, and we need to start making a really constructive attempt to work with our global partners to fix the climate crisis.
The Italian-American company Fiat Chrysler and the French PSA Group have confirmed a merger that will create the world's 4th largest car maker. Here's Andrew Walker.
The global motor industry is facing some huge technological challenges in the coming decades. It's moving towards battery technology to reduce the impact on the climate, and it's developing autonomous vehicles. These transitions require massive investment, which is more affordable for very large companies, such as the giant that will be created by PSA and Fiat Chrysler. This is very much an international business. PSA has French, German and British brands, while Fiat Chryslers are Italian and American.
World News from the BBC. The Democrat-controlled US House of Representatives will vote later today on articles of impeachment against President Trump. With the vote bound to fall along strict party lines, he looks almost certain to become only the 3rd US president to be impeached. If the articles pass, Mr. Trump will be tried in the Republican-controlled Senate. The last day of talks between the United States and South Korea on how much Seoul should pay to host more than 28,000 US troops looks set to pass without a deal. Laura Bicker in Seoul has the details.
Donald Trump has demanded that many US allies, including South Korea, pay more towards defence as part of his America First policy. Reports in Seoul suggest Washington is asking for $5 billion a year. That's 5 times the amount South Korea currently pays. The dispute has been a rare public sign of discord in this 70-year-old alliance. There have been several public protests in Seoul outside the US Embassy. American troops have been stationed in South Korea since the end of the Korean War in 1953, and their presence on the peninsula has been used to deter possible North Korean aggression.
The head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has warned of the risks that Britain and the EU face if they don't conclude a post-Brexit trade deal by the end of next year. She said they could face a cliff-edge situation which could harm EU interests but would impact Britain even more. Britain intends to leave the bloc at the end of next month. The United Nations Development Programme is trying to resolve a dispute over a large consignment of a drug it uses in HIV prevention programs that's been seized by Russian customs. Russian officials say they impounded thousands of bottles containing methadone, which is illegal in Russia. The UN uses methadone in supervised programs in countries such as Tajikistan as a heroin substitute. BBC News.